Now to Kenya, where the health minister has ordered the construction of a US-backed Ebola quarantine centre for Americans to be stopped. Aden Duale appeared in court in Nairobi to make the announcement. The court had earlier held him in contempt for failing to halt the project. The US had planned to send its citizens who had been exposed to Ebola to the facility in Kenya instead of flying them home. Now that triggered violent protests despite assurances of its safety. The World Health Organization has warned that the Ebola outbreak in Congo has spread more rapidly in the first month than any other outbreak of the disease. More than 1,000 people have been infected and around a quarter of those have died. Let's get more on this from our correspondent, Felix Moringa in Nairobi. Welcome, Felix. What sort of reaction has there been to this, to the news of the halting of this construction?
Well, the reaction has largely been positive as the local community members feel this is a win for them. It's a win that the Ebola quarantine facility meant for the US citizens has now been halted. For the lawyers, the activists, and the political class, they also feel that this is a vindication by the court that the Kenyan government erred in consulting the citizens and finding a middle ground that would be effective for all citizens. But the government has remained adamant, saying that the construction of the facility would have been better for Kenya, and it would have helped Kenya to be better prepared in case there was an Ebola outbreak. So while the citizens and the activists celebrate, the Kenyan government remains adamant, saying that this is a loss in terms of preparedness for the case that Ebola could come into the borders of Kenya.
And I think that's an important point to make, that there is no Ebola in Kenya at the moment. So what led the health minister to finally comply with the court decision and halt the project?
This is one of the most striking aspects of this story, because on Monday, when the court found the health minister in contempt of court, and he was asked to appear personally in court, then he appeared on Tuesday morning and he said that he was deeply sorry for the misunderstanding between the government and the citizens, and he also promised the court that activities around construction of the Ebola quarantine facility meant for US citizens was being halted. But the main reason why he appeared in court is because, as compared to the past, when the court just looked at the government as the people who erred in this particular situation, this time around the health minister was held personally culpable, and so it forced him to appear in court. And as a result, the construction of the facility was halted. And the judge also used this particular time to warn all the government officials who are synonymous with disrespecting court orders, that court orders are meant to be obeyed.
And remind us what was so controversial about this Ebola centre.
The construction of the facility was controversial in three particular aspects. Number one, the government had shrouded the whole construction in mystery. No one knew what the details were between the US government and the Kenyan government. Secondly, Kenya has not recorded a single case of Ebola, so the local community and Kenyans at large felt like this would be unnecessary exposure. And thirdly, the reason given by the government that this Ebola facility would not serve the local community first, but it will serve the US citizens first, then the local communities would come in later. And that is why it was deeply controversial.
And is that project now definitely dead?
The project is not definitely dead, because what the court has done, it has just halted the construction pending the legal battle. So if the legal battle in court, the government is able to prove that they followed all the due procedures, then the government will be given a green light to continue constructing. If the government is found at fault, then that could signal an end to the construction of the facility for good. But for the Donald Trump government and the President Ruto government, it remains a case of wait and see on what the court will decide or direct moving forward.
Okay, so this was a deal between the two governments, as you say. So if the deal, if the construction is dead, what happens to that deal between the US and Kenya?
it's a smirk on the face for both President Ruto and President Trump, because they remained very adamant. In fact, just last week when President Ruto was at the G7 summit, he said that the construction of the facility was was Kenya showing goodwill to the US, who's been a partner in the whole health affairs of the country. He cited the fact that the US has supported Kenya with PEPFAR when it comes to HIV/AIDS control in the country, and has also helped Kenya in the past dealing with pandemics such as the COVID-19. And so for President Ruto, he felt like this was giving back to the US government. But now it remains a very weird political phase, where now the conversation between Donald Trump and President William Ruto may be a little bit weird moving forward if the courts decide that the construction of the facility will not be done completely in the region of Kenya.
Okay, we'll wait and see. Thanks for that, Felix. Felix Moringa in Nairobi.